Remember the days when cars had crank windows, bench seats, and ashtrays in every door? These forgotten features were once staples of the driving experience, now replaced by modern tech. Let's take a nostalgic ride through the past and rediscover the quirks that made vintage cars truly unique. Bench seats. One of the most missed car features is the bench seat. It was a staple in cars up until the late 20th century. Unlike today's bucket seats, the bench seat spanned the entire front of the car, allowing 3 people to sit comfortably side by side. It was perfect for family road trips or romantic drives, where couples could sit closer together. Sadly, safety regulations and the need for more individualized seating brought an end to this classic feature. Manual window cranks. Before power windows became standard, there was something called manual window cranks. These were little handles you had to rotate to roll the window up or down. It might seem like extra work now, but there was a certain charm in physically winding the window yourself. Kids sitting in the back would often compete over who could crank it faster. Vent windows. Vent windows were small triangular windows located in the front of the main windows. They were a lifesaver on hot summer days, allowing a cool breeze to flow in without opening the entire window. These days, air conditioning has taken over, making vent windows a distant memory. But many who grew up with them can remember how refreshing they were. Ashtrays and cigarette lighters. Once upon a time, every car came with an ashtray and cigarette lighter as standard features. Smoking in cars was so common that these accessories were considered essential. Today, with health awareness and smoking restrictions, ashtrays have disappeared, and cigarette lighters have been replaced by USB ports for our devices. Floor-mounted dimmer switch. In older cars, the high-beam dimmer switch wasn't located on the steering column. Instead, it was on the floor. Drivers would use their left foot to click it on or off, making it feel like a secret pedal only seasoned drivers knew how to use. While it may seem odd by today's standards, many drivers remember it fondly. Horn rings. Before steering wheels were outfitted with buttons for the horn, cars often came with horn rings. These were metal rings that circled the steering wheel, and you could tap anywhere on the ring to honk the horn. It was a convenient and stylish feature that gave cars a bit of flair, but over time, it was replaced with more practical buttons. Cassette and 8-track players. While today's cars come with Bluetooth and touchscreen entertainment systems, back in the day, music lovers relied on cassette players and even 8-track systems. There was nothing like the feeling of sliding in your favorite tape and hearing it play through the car's speakers. The clunky design and tendency for tapes to get stuck seem laughable now, but at the time, it was cutting-edge technology. Pop-up headlights. If you were a fan of flashy sports cars, you probably remember pop-up headlights. These lights would pop up from the car's body when turned on, giving the vehicle a sleek, futuristic look. Though it was an exciting feature, pop-up headlights were eventually discontinued due to safety regulations and maintenance issues. Chrome bumpers. Chrome bumpers were a symbol of luxury and style. They were shiny, durable, and gave cars an eye-catching appearance. However, as cars became more focused on aerodynamics and weight reduction, chrome bumpers were replaced by plastic ones. While they may have been heavy, chrome bumpers certainly added a level of elegance to older cars. If you're enjoying this trip through automotive history, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more nostalgic content like this. Car phones. Before the advent of smartphones, the ultimate luxury feature was the car phone. Reserved for the wealthiest drivers, these built-in phones were considered the height of technology in the 80s and 90s. Although the reception was often poor and calls were expensive, having a car phone was a status symbol at the time. Tail fins. Back in the 1950s and 1960s, tail fins were all the rage in car design, especially in American cars. Inspired by jet aircraft, these large decorative fins made cars look futuristic and sleek. They were a symbol of post-war optimism and the space-age fascination. Though they served no functional purpose, tail fins made cars stand out in a way that modern designs rarely do. Column shifters. Before the modern gear shift moved to the center console, many cars featured a column shifter mounted on the steering column. This was particularly common in older automatic cars, and it freed up space in the middle for that famous bench seat. While it might take a moment to get used to driving with one, column shifters had their own charm, giving the dashboard a cleaner look. Hand choke. Older cars often required drivers to manually adjust the air-fuel mixture in the engine using a hand choke, especially during cold starts. Located on the dashboard, it was a knob you pulled to enrich the fuel mixture and help the car start up. This required a little bit of mechanical knowledge and added an extra step to starting your car, making you feel like a true driver. Curb feelers. A quirky feature you might not remember is curb feelers, metal springs attached to the side of the car near the wheels. These springs would make a noise when they touched the curb, helping drivers avoid scratching their white wall tires or damaging their hubcaps. Though they looked a little strange, they served a practical purpose, especially in parallel parking situations. Push-button transmissions. In the 1950s and early 1960s, some cars came with push-button transmissions instead of traditional gear shifters. A series of buttons on the dashboard allowed you to select drive, park, neutral, or reverse. It felt futuristic and was incredibly easy to use. However, push-button transmissions were phased out as automakers moved back to traditional shift levers. Roll-down rear windows. Certain cars, particularly station wagons, used to have rear windows that could be rolled down just like the side windows. This feature allowed for more airflow, especially during family road trips. You could open the back and let fresh air fill the car without opening the entire hatch. It's a feature that's been largely forgotten in today's SUVs. Automatic seatbelts. In the 1980s and early 90s, automatic seatbelts were introduced to encourage more people to buckle up. These seatbelts would automatically slide into place when the car was started or when the door was closed. While it seemed like a convenient feature, many drivers found them annoying, and they were eventually replaced by today's standard manual seatbelts. Ttops. The T-top design was a popular feature in sports cars during the 70s and 80s. It was a type of removable roof panel that left a T-shaped bar running down the middle of the car for structural support. Drivers could take off the roof panels for an open-air driving experience without committing to a full convertible. Cars like the Pontiac Firebird and Chevrolet Corvette popularized the T-top, but they eventually fell out of favor. Swiveling bucket seats. Swivel seats were introduced in certain cars in the 1970s to make getting in and out easier. These seats could rotate toward the door, allowing drivers and passengers to slide in and out with minimal effort. This feature was especially popular among people who found the traditional car seat cumbersome, but it didn't catch on widely enough to stay in production. Side ventilators. Before the invention of air conditioning, cars were equipped with side ventilators, small vents positioned under the dashboard. These vents could be manually opened to let fresh air into the car, especially on warm days. It was a simple and effective cooling method, but as AC systems became the norm, side ventilators vanished from car interiors. Cloth interiors. In the era before leather seats became synonymous with luxury, most cars came with cloth interiors. They were soft, comfortable, and didn't get too hot in the summer or too cold in the winter. Though many modern cars still offer cloth as a standard option, the prevalence of leather has made the humble cloth seat feel like a thing of the past. Fuel filler behind the license plate. In the 1950s and 60s, many cars, especially large American sedans, had their gas tank filler hidden behind the rear license plate. This design kept the body lines clean and prevented unsightly gas caps from disrupting the car's aesthetic. It's a clever design that added to the streamlined look of cars back then, but modern regulations have moved gas tanks to the sides of cars. Floor vents. Older cars often had floor vents that allowed drivers to control airflow directly to their feet. In cold weather, Opening these vents let in warm air from the engine, helping to keep passengers warm without relying solely on the heater. With today's advanced climate control systems, these simple vents have become unnecessary. Speedometers with numbers that changed color. Some cars in the 1960s and 1970s had speedometers with numbers that changed color based on how fast you were driving. For example, speeds below 30 mph might be in green, while speeds over 50 mph could turn red. It was a fun way to remind drivers to keep an eye on their speed, and it added a bit of personality to the dashboard. AM-only radios. Before FM radio stations became common, many cars came equipped with AM-only radios. Though they didn't have the sound quality of FM, AM stations were popular for talk shows, news, and music. Today, car radios are digital, with access to satellite stations, Bluetooth, and streaming services, making AM radios seem like ancient history. These forgotten car features might seem outdated now, but for those who grew up with them, they bring back memories of a time when driving was simpler and perhaps a little more fun. Which of these features do you remember or wish would make a comeback? Share your thoughts in the comments. And as always, if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more nostalgic journeys.